The Renaissance, René Descartes, Part 6, Cogito Ergo Sum, Professor Michael Botwin, Department of Psychology, California State University, Fresno. Descartes received a classical education, which included learning all of the previous philosophers and probably many more that we've talked about so far in this class. And he had an intellectual crisis. He was very upset with all the contradictions. And he started to believe everything he learned up to this point was useless, especially philosophy. I would imagine that you're feeling a little bit like this right now as we keep on bouncing back and forth between all of these different philosophical ideas. Descartes started to look at all of the previous writings of philosophers through the ages, and the only thing he figured out was they couldn't agree on anything, which is not really that great, is it? And you've probably noticed that every time we get settled into an idea, something new comes along and replaces it, and then a little while later, whether it's 50 or 100 years or so, the old idea is back again. So Descartes eventually came up with the notion that he'd better off everything himself and starting from scratch. But where do you start? After much thinking, he finally came to a resolution. And that resolution is one of the hallmarks of modern philosophy. So follow me carefully on this. First of all, he thought, I'm going to doubt everything I can doubt. And I'm only going to use in my system of philosophy what I'm certain about. Well, that left him a new job, finding out what he was certain about. And he had to find out what is certain and then to be able to deduce logically other certainties from those. So he concludes. Get ready for this one. If I had a drum roll to put in here, I'd do it. Maybe I can do that, but we'll see. Not that good at these videos yet. The only certainty Descartes felt was that he could doubt. But through doubting was thinking. Thinking required a thinker. Therefore, at least to Descartes, he himself did in fact exist. Hence, you get in Latin, which is far more fun to say than in English, Cogito Ergo Sum, or I think, therefore I am. So what Descartes has done with this logical statement here is basically prove his own existence. From that, he went on to build his system of philosophy. But in our system, it's time for a few cartoons, because the whole notion of I think I, therefore I am, is immortalized in many different cartoons in many different ways. I know Facebook is now out, but here's Josh and Descartes. Dude, you didn't even have a Facebook account. Talk about not existing. Kind of a modern push. Descartes goes into a bar. Set up for a bad joke. Maybe you'll think this one is. Bartender says, "So, Mr. Descartes, another one?" Descartes says, "I think not." And poof, disappears. How about Descartes as tour guide? Before making it big as a philosopher, Descartes worked in the public sector. And here he's pointing on the map saying, you are here, therefore you are. Now, we had said that Descartes liked to think about things in terms of clear and distinct thoughts. This one kind of doesn't get at that. It's food for thought. Amazing! I've discovered an intelligent mold growing on this old sweet potato pie. The mold says, I think, therefore I am. The scientist says, fuzzy logic. And then we have this one. I think, therefore I am. Here's my final Descartes slide on Cogito Ergo Sum. And this one is Cogito Ergo Dim Sum. I think we should order Chinese food. And since this mixes one of my favorite philosophers, Descartes, and one of my favorite things, the Chinese appetizer food dim sum, a good way to leave our discussion of Descartes and how he developed his most famous intellectual premise. I think I'll see you next time on our next episode of the History of Psychology, where we further explore Descartes' ideas. Bye now. This has been a We Have Couches video production. Copyright 2020. Professor Michael Botwin. All rights reserved.